says, I am looking to purchase a property at a sheriff's auction, which is a distress sale. What are the benefits of buying at such an auction? And what are some of the areas of concern that I need to be aware of or look out for? I don't want to buy and then later regret my decision. Bruno?
There's no benefits, right? So look,
I don't disagree.
So look, sales and execution, when I started practice a couple of years ago, it was like just the other day, sales and execution were like a really big thing, because it used to be bargain hunters going out to auctions, being able to find some fantastic deals. Don't get me wrong, they were amazing deals out there, right? I even bought a couple myself. I had clients that had people at every auction buying out amazing stuff, right? But as with everything in life, when something becomes popular, the market becomes saturated, the supply reduces, the demand is very high, competition becomes fierce, the criminal elements start slowly like weaving in and making life harder. Obviously then courts start stepping in, because now there's a lot more litigation, so courts start declaring things unconstitutional, then the rules change. Long story short, what the picture of sales and execution was 15 odd years ago is very different to the picture of what it is now. And that's the one thing people need to realize. The principles are the same, but the strategy or business model is very different, which is why a lot of my intuitive clients have actually stepped away from it and they no longer dabble in it. And the reason for this is mainly now, specifically because there's an over demand, undersupply. There's an undersupply because the courts declared so many things unconstitutional that the rules had to be changed. The rules changed, which added an extra layer of process, which cost the banks more to get the properties on auction and make it harder to actually sell the property on auction, because now there's reserve prices. I'm not saying that this is wrong or right. Don't get me wrong. I'm speaking about this from an investment perspective. Why is an investor saying, is going to auctions good or bad? Because this is what the landscape looks like. It might be more just for the debtor, maybe it isn't. I've seen cases where it just now drags it out for longer. So now a debtor, instead of having arrears limited to 50,000 because the property was sold, it just goes on and on and on, and interest starts accumulating on the account, and running it through the system takes so long that they land up with 500,000 Rand in arrears because it just took so long to get it on auction. But from an investor perspective, that's the landscape you're working on. By the time it gets to auction, the price is a lot higher, the arrears are higher. The situation is quite dire, but there's a reserve price. If you don't hit that reserve price, it has to go to court. We've got a case that we've been waiting somewhere around 7 months for a judge to ratify the below reserve price bid. Because if it hits below reserve price, you need a judge to approve it. And that's aside from the actual criminal elements at the auctions that try push up the bidding price, then walk away, don't actually take the properties. Sheriffs are totally frustrated. So it's not great, right? However, if you know the property, if it lands up going on auction, you know that it's coming, you've got a price, you can go in and bid, you can still get very good deals. So I'm saying the landscape's changed, but I'm not saying don't do it. There's still benefits to doing it. Just, go in prepared. Like, come speak to someone like me or Cilna, so we can just kind of go, watch out for this, watch out for this, watch out for that bunch. Speak to the sheriff, introduce yourself, do this, do this research, ask certain questions. And what I'd say is, number one, try figure out what the property rates are, the outstanding municipal charges. Don't assume the sheriff knows, because he often doesn't. He should, but he doesn't. And don't buy and then go, oh, but you were wrong, I want to walk out, because it's harder to walk out. It's not simply writing a letter going, I cancel, and off you go. So make sure that you're comfortable with what the outstanding amount of the municipality is, because you're paying.
Yeah, that's exactly. I wanted to interrupt and wanted to ask you just to clarify on that one, because I think because it's an outlier arrangement, I think most viewers don't necessarily might not be aware of this one.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's exactly to that point. So it's the municipal rates and the body corporate or HOA levies. Those are exactly what Cilna said. They're outliers. You're not used to it as an investor, because you go in and go, oh, cool, seller covers it. Not here, right? Seller doesn't cover it. Like disclosure of defects, no, doesn't happen, right? So there's no obligation on the seller, because as far as the seller is concerned, they don't want their property sold. Sheriff has there's no obligation placed on him because it's sold as is and he's entitled to sell as is. So it's a risk. Occupation, knowing who lives on the property and how difficult it is to kick them out. Speak to Cilna and myself. We've done this a million times. We understand the nature of, if you come to me and tell me the answer that they gave you when you knocked on the door, I will probably be able to classify them and quote you for the eviction and probably tell you how long it's going to take, because it's just that bad. Depending on how many swear words they use and how many sentences they construct with those swear words, we'd probably be able to give you an indication.
Or how nice they are, Bruno.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. It's fine. Just let me know when it registers. I'm going to move out when you lodge. Yeah,
exactly.
You are going to bring an application to set the sale aside. That's what you're going to do.
Exactly. No, exactly. And I mean, exactly to that point that you're mentioning, like I even got to the point where I compile strategies for the purchasers where I'm like, prompt them to bring that application. Yes, you love this property, so prompt them. Like get them to do it, because at the very least, then there's something that's stopping the transfer from taking place, and you get that mess sorted out before you take transfer and sit having to deal with that mess and pay your bond at the same time. So guys, there's good deals out there, very, very good deals, but it's not as easy as it used to be. This is one of those things where I say, get educated and then go for it. Absolutely go for it. But get educated first. Don't just walk in there and think that you're going to put up your hand and it's all hunky-dory. It's not that easy. Yeah.
Now, the longest evictions we've had comes from estate sales, sale and executions, and insolvency sales, because there's a dispute on the underlying right of occupation.
Yeah.
And it's a tenant that where you cancel a lease agreement, the tenant realizes, oh, okay, I didn't pay rent, we're canceling, I need to go at some stage. They don't feel a right of ownership. Sure. The previous owner, they feel entitled to the property, and those are the guys that you drag out kicking and screaming on an eviction. Exactly. It's not pretty. They're long and expensive.
And it's exactly to what you said. At some point, a tenant realizes that it's not worth it. And as soon as they start forking out legal costs, and the legal costs start looking the same as rent they could be paying, there's a kind of a little graph that goes through their head where they're like, oh, hold on, wait, I've just reached that point where going above this doesn't make sense anymore. With sales and execution, that doesn't exist. These guys are living there. They don't have money. Their property just got sold. You're not going to get a cent of rent from them. So every month that they stay on the property is a bonus. And it's as simple as that. And their legal costs versus rent, it doesn't, because their ownership is more than rent. And that's how they value it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was lovely said.
Yeah. Bruno, I also want to find out from you in terms of the condition of a property. So I think it would be safe to assume in most instances that because somebody or a family or whoever is, the occupant, the person who actually owns the property cannot afford to pay whatever it is, thereby rendering the property executable, that occasionally you might find that there's some damage to the property, maybe a lack of maintenance and those kind of things. Is there a way to actually view the property before the auction? Is there a way that maybe you could come to an agreement, or I don't know, what could possibly be done instead of buying blindly? And maybe that's something some of your clients ask you as well, guys.
Sure. So off the bat, if you knock on the door and go, hi, your property is going up on auction, the guy answers and goes, yeah, I know, shame, such a pity, but sure. Are you looking at buying it? Yeah, come inside, have a look. Are you happy? Okay, 100%. I've never experienced that. It would be lovely. Like it's, but so typically how it goes is knock on the door, property is going up on auction, couple of swear words come out. The gist you kind of get is he's saying that it's not going up on auction, right? Even if it does, like he's under the impression it's not. So that's already a problem. Sheriffs in Cape Town, what I find is smaller places do the auctions at the property. So it's very cool with some of the sheriffs in Cape Town where they actually go to the property. Some of them even get the keys or a locksmith to open, and they do like a little open house and they attend the auction, or they like the doors are locked, but you can view from the window and you can look inside, right? So in Cape Town, that's pretty much the closest you're going to get. Some Cape Town, not all Cape Town, some Cape Town. So that's pretty cool. I've experienced a couple of those. Joburg, not a chance. Here you go into the sheriff's office. They've got like whatever, 15 properties on the day. It reduces to 5. Everyone's sitting there and that's it. Reason why they do that here is because they want to hold multiple ones in one day. People can't drive around to all the properties straight after the auction, because then the auction will literally take like a couple of days. Interestingly enough, the CPA, there's certain provision there or certain regulations that deal with auctions, and the fact that auctioneers need to, number one, get their costings right. So they need to actually quote 100% what the costs are. So it's already questionable on whether sheriffs are correct in saying, but these are estimations, we don't know, because it is information that's easily acquirable. So that's one argument I've had. Another argument is they're actually supposed to give access on request prior to the auction taking place. Unfortunately, the market dipped before I ever got to test that theory. So I'm kind of sitting in this weird area going, I feel that if I had brought an application to court, I could compel the sheriff out of his duty as sheriff in his official capacity to go to court, apply for an order for access, and actually give access to the property. Unfortunately, I never got the opportunity to do that, and it would cost a bit of money. So not a lot of clients are willing to do that prior to an auction. I've done it after the auction, but never before the auction.
Oh, thanks so much for that advice, Bruno.